430 episodes. Twice I didn't press record.
Oh man.
So I always have to say it out loud to myself. Okay. So you know my guilty pleasure. It's talent shows, whether it's America Got Talent, The Voice, American Idol. For me, watching people leave it all out on the stage, watching them take a chance on themselves, and then to see who grows as the stage gets bigger, who shrinks, who takes up a challenge and crumbles, and who shines when that happens. For me, I'm just on the roller coaster, and I'll be in tears 1 minute with a golden buzzer, easily manipulated all the time. And it's just, for me, a microcosm of the human spirit. So while I was watching American Idol a couple seasons ago, I started finding these YouTube videos of a young man who was doing commentary on how people were doing, how well they were doing, how not well, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. And the more I learned about him, I learned that he was the runner-up in 2015 on season 14 of American Idol. So I went and I found Clark Beckham, and I went through his whole journey and all his music. And I found out, like, he's not just a good singer, he's an exceptional singer. Like, he's an otherworldly singer in ways, that you would think that someone would be an absolute superstar with just that talent. And he's been doing this every year. He's a corporate speaker, so he does do motivational speaker. He does all kinds of stuff. He made his album in I think 2018 was called Year One. But made it up to number 5 on the iTunes charts. So he's been nominated for a Teen Choice Award. He's currently touring to promote his new album Lightyear, which is really good, and we're going to put the link in the show notes for that. And it does a whole bunch of other stuff. Clark, thanks for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that kind introduction.
When I was thinking about having you on, I was thinking about all the things that you do, and I was thinking about your resilience. So I remember the one of the first things you talked about was when you auditioned for American Idol, and you said Keith Urban just wasn't as enthusiastic as you had hoped with the audition that you gave, and thought it was really cool how you took that. Maybe was it Harry Connick Jr. who said you weren't that great of a piano player or something?
No, that's actually Howard Stern, when I auditioned for America's Got Talent, told me that he didn't think I was a good enough guitar player to play and sing. So I've had many, many run-ins with celebrity judges downing me a bit.
Who only has a talent for running his mouth, right? Like,
Right.
I'll tell you about my. So when something like that happens to you, because that's not just my work product isn't that great. It's who you are. How do you deal with that assault on your art, on your essence?
Well, you have to know for certain. You have to have confidence in what you're doing, where someone could say something bad and you're not convinced. You can hear them and take it in and say, okay, well, there's clearly something that I need to do better. But at the same time, it's not that I take it and go, oh, I was wrong. I'm not a good singer. So when I was young, I had this when I was really little too. When I was young, in school, I went to a Christian school where we had chapel and we would sing all, corporately. And the guys didn't sing. That was a girl thing to do.
Hmm.
But I would sing. And then I remember, and you're around everybody, it's a cappella where I was, so you could hear everyone that was singing. And I remember I was brand new at school. I was in 3rd grade. I was shy. And I guess, bully of the class in front of everybody afterwards was like, did you guys hear Clark sing? Clark sings like a girl. And he started kind of making fun of me and just kind of in front of everyone. And I remember even in that moment, me going, what are you talking about? I sound great. You sound stupid. Like, you're groaning and moaning like you're not even singing, because that's what the guys did. They just like mumble.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even then I had the confidence, because at that point I'd already been singing on stage and stuff with my parents. and I already knew that I was good. So there was nothing that anybody could tell me to convince me that I was actually bad. So that's important, and because of that, it was a huge advantage that I got negative feedback and doubt. Because it's not just negative feedback. I can hear someone fantastic and give them negative feedback for them to use. This was genuine doubt in my ability to perform well on the show. And it was a huge advantage for me because it lit a fire in me that would not have been lit if they would have just
Mhm.
said, wow, that was awesome. Like so many other people have said when they hear me sing in school plays and college talent shows and things like that. So it was a big advantage, but it really comes down to doing the work and having the experience to be fully confident in your ability.
How do you get there? So for me, like when I first became a coach, I was in the tech industry, and when I switched over to becoming a coach, I had lunch with a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, and they said, "Who are you to coach? Like with your life was such a mess. How could you ever coach anybody on anything?" Right? And I walked away from that just kind of destroyed.
Uh,
And I had to work my way through. Actually, one of the reasons I'm a great coach is because I did destroy my life,
Absolutely.
right? And I created a whole new life, and I can show people how to do that. But I had to do that internal
Absolutely.
math. How do you get to that point where you can put your heart and soul, out in front of people, and then keep your own counsel on your own worth?
Well, a couple things. In order to be confident that you are fully capable and that you are really good at your thing, so mine would be music. In order to be that confident, it has to be true. You have to actually be really good at that thing because we all have limitations. And, I can be as confident and as passionate as anyone in the world in my ability to dance. But the fact is, I'm not a good dancer. I'm just not. Doesn't matter how confident I am. I could go in and do dance competitions, and people could tell me that I'm terrible, and I could go, "No, I'm confident in my dancing, and no matter what, I'm going to keep going." But I'm not going to do well because I'm just not good. So there's one, you have to have the awareness to actually know if you're good or not. And unfortunately, sometimes that just looks like trial and error in public. So if I do a talent show and I get last place and everyone's like, "Hey, it's not working out for you," might be a sign. To look at yourself objectively and have that self-awareness is really important. And then it's just experience in what you're doing and success, quantifiable success in that talent. And you go, okay, I know for sure I'm good enough to do what I need to do. And so when a hit does come, or someone goes, "Who are you to do this?" Or "I don't think you sound good at all," or "You don't have any soul," or "You're not ready," you can take it without taking it deep enough to go, "Oh, I'm I'm lost.
Mm.
There's no way I can do this. Who am I to do this?" But that's kind of what it takes is confidence and earned confidence. Confidence. This is such a big misconception about confidence. Confidence is not wished upon you. Confidence is earned, and the foundation of confidence is reality. I am a confident singer because the reality is I'm a good singer. I am not a confident dancer because
Mm.
the reality is I'm a terrible dancer. So that's really the foundation of that
But you're
confidence.
also a good singer, not only because you just had a talent for singing, you put the work in to become the kind of singer you are, right?
Yeah, totally. So I had the natural ability to sing when I was really little, but I also went through a program called Brett Manning's Singing Success that really taught me technique and really gave me the voice I have today. And then, of course, always thinking. So much of singing well is thinking and choices. The analogy that I use is your ability, your talent is the vehicle that you're driving, but you have to be a good driver of it.
Mm.
And that goes with anything. You have to be a good driver. There are people with souped up V12 engine twin turbo supercars that can't drive. They're just bad drivers. They have an unbelievable vehicle, an unbelievable talent, but they cannot drive it. And there are other people that are driving junkers that are world-class drivers and are incredibly effective just because of the talent that they have in their driving ability, of that vehicle.
That makes sense. I've seen people take pictures with, photographers take pictures with iPhones that look like, expensive cameras. Or for me, I have really, really expensive golf clubs. And people, oh, you must be a good golfer. No, I was a really good sales guy and I won these. So,
Yeah, that's
so
exactly.
it makes a lot of sense. So let's just talk about kind of your betting on yourself and your hustle and how you're working your career, because you're doing a number of things, right? You started a YouTube channel. That's a whole in like engulfing thing in and of itself. How do you get views? How do you get the algorithms to work? How do you keep interesting content? How do you edit it so that it does? So
Yep.
you have to spend a whole lot of time figuring that out, right?
Yep.
Then you have your music career. Then you and I think you give singing lessons also, right? So you're
Huh?
betting on yourself. Tell me about all the places that you're betting on yourself.
Yeah, so I teach music lessons. I teach about 10 to 12 1 hour lessons a week, with different students. Um, and that goes from music theory to singing performance to independent artist consulting, to kind of whatever knowledge I have that people want to know about. Um, and then I am writing a health plan that's focused on fat loss, something that I stumbled upon that kind of blew my mind, and that I heavily researched, and uh, have this plan that is it's it's the easiest thing that I've ever tried, and it's the most effective thing that I've ever tried when it comes to diet, and fat loss, just being effective. So anyway, I'm writing that. I am working on a tour concept with the Idol Hometown Tour, where I will go to Idol alumni. I'll go to their hometown of this past season and the season before, and do a show with them and kind of be the Ryan Seacrest of the night, but
Mm.
have my own 30 to 45 minute set, but really present them in the best light possible. And so I'll go around doing that. Um, and then I'm also uh, competing in Spartan races, which are obstacle course races. And I've got one at the end of the month. And if you finish in the top 5 of your age group, you get to compete. You're eligible to compete in the elite category for your next race, the following year. And if then you actually get prize money and you're ranked nationally if you can, compete well with the elite group. So that's a goal of mine as well. So there's a handful of things that come to mind. I also was reached a literary agent reached out to me about writing a book, and so I've been working on that as well. And then I'm looking on doing live master classes too. Um, and instead of just 1 hour one-on-one things, but to do live master classes where everybody can come for like $20.
You
And
have the platform to do that, so I would encourage that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Coach in me comes out. That one rings for me. So
yeah.
so here's my question: why do all that? Why not get a job? Like
Oh,
why sit here? And because I'm sure you want a family at some point, right? And all that. Why do you keep spinning all these plates?
I think I played a battle of the bands when I was 19 years old at Lee University, where I went to college. And at that point, I was studying to be a history teacher and get a job as a history teacher. And if music happened, great. If it didn't, whatever. I'll be a history teacher and football coach and love that. When I got done with playing this show and we won that battle of the bands, and it was the first time I experienced playing with a great band that was well rehearsed, the energy that that gave me and the feeling that I had, I walked off stage and I looked to my keyboard player. I said, how could we do that and do anything else?
Mm,
So to the idea, I mean, even when you just said it, my whole body just shuddered and cringed. The idea of getting a quote job, um, because you have to be really creative to be a creative full time. And that's what I'm doing. And you can no longer just do singing and get a job, at least where I'm at. You can, when you're big enough to do it. But my mind is so infatuated with entrepreneurship and how to do it right and how to do different things. And I love health. Great. Let's find a way to make money exploring health. I love racing. Great. Like running and exercise. Let's find a way to do that for fun. And my mom told me when I was a little kid, find a way to do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of where I'm following. But
nice.
I just, and it honestly, I'm spinning a lot of plates, but I have way more time than my friends who work 40-hour weeks. And I'm doing it in a creative way. It's just the dream. I can't imagine. I'll do whatever I have to do to not have to get a job.
So you said there's something that was key. You said you're a creative, right? If you said I'm a singer, like, and that's what I do, it's either pass or fail, right?
Yep. Yep.
You're either going to make enough money to be able to survive being a singer, or you're going to have to go get a job. But what
Yeah.
you said is I'm a creative, so I'm singing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm just trying to create things in the world, which I think that, again, why you're on the show is. This economy is moving us towards that. Less and less people want to work in a corporate job. A lot
Yeah.
of people are being forced into something else. A lot of people my age, once you get into your 50s, you're not as viable, in the employment world as you used to be. And you have to look for creative ways to do that, and finding that confidence to bet on yourself, and then finding the resiliency when a bet doesn't work. When someone calls your baby ugly and you believe in your baby, how do you find that to keep going? It's kind of cool. The other thing that you said was really interesting. When people interview me all the time, as being a successful executive coach is a rarity, right? To be at a certain level. I paid my dues, and I really struggled for a long time until I became successful. And new coaches would ask me about being a coach. Should I leave my job to be a coach? And I would say, look, being a coach is like being a musician. If you can be anything other than a musician, you should go do that and get health insurance and a 401k and do music on the weekends, right? But if you can't, then by all means go sleep on people's couches and, like you did, busk in the streets and be a musician. Same thing with a coach. If you can be anything other than a coach, go get a job with a 401k and coach on the side. So, you listen to your spirit. But again, people are finding themselves they don't have that inspiration. They're finding themselves having to um, kind of live by their wits and figure out a way for income. So what do you think it takes? Again, I love that what you talked about, confidence, and how you earn your confidence and you build your confidence. You don't just have it. Uh, what do you think it takes to actually just go without a net or without a wire and bet on yourself?
First of all, I say that what you said about if you can do anything else, you should do that thing. I say that all the time about being an artist and being a musician, all the time. And it's because it takes uncommon effort to make it happen. So, what does it take? It takes a combination of a strong work ethic, but being careful not to fall into the trap of doing the hard thing instead of doing the smart thing.
Ooh.
And what I mean by that is till recently, till like 3 or 4 months ago, I totally worshiped the idol of look how hard I work,
Mm.
everyone. Look at the hours I spend. Look at all these things I do. Do I have an assistant? No. Do I have a music director writing the charts? I write the charts. I make the arrangements. I book the flights. I edit my own videos. I do the graphic design. Look at all that Clark can do. And I was reading, you're probably aware of this book, but I've been reading The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And he talks about in the book elimination, just to try to eliminate as much things as you can from your life to give you more time. And he goes, okay, basically the concept is, yeah, all right, I just did a festival in Latvia, and there were horn charts and the band needed charts and all that stuff. I could do that and spend hours and hours and hours doing that. Or I could tell my keyboard player, who's a saxophone player as well and a musical genius and has a degree in music, hey, do you want to be the musical director of the band for this gig, and I'll pay you an extra $200 on top of what you're already being paid? And it was an honor for him. He's like, absolutely. So I didn't have to do any of that. Save me probably 10 hours of work. And in that 10 hours of work, I can make more money than $200 in that 10 hours with lessons. So all of a sudden, look, instead of doing the hard thing, I'm doing the smart thing. So it's a combination of being willing to do what no one else will do and work really, 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 really hard, but also know when to delegate and how you can work smart. But it's also a big key is multiple streams of income, because I have about 12 and 5 of them are pathetically low, but the ceiling's high, right? So they could be something special, but because I have so many different things, I'm able to pay the bills and buy the house from my dad that I grew up in and do all of these things. But the key is working smart, working hard, always thinking about how can I turn this into money, this passion that I have into money. Being creative that way, and then multiple streams.
You said you sang with your parents. Were your parents musicians, or were they entrepreneurs? Where did you get this sense from?
I don't know. My parents were singers. My dad was a singer and a guitar player for a long time, 30, 40 years. He played with Righteous Brothers and Dolly Parton and a lot of big, great names and acts. My mom, her music was more of a hobby, and she was just a wonderful singer and sang in church, that kind of a thing. As far as entrepreneurship, I think it's just an extension of the same creativity that I use when I take a song uh, to change the chords and just change it and rearrange songs, is the same creative muscle that I feel when I think, how can I promote this really well? I also am really, it's a blessing and a curse, but I'm also really good at seeing the problem with things. So when I have an idea, I think of 1 or 2 ways that it'll work great and 20 ways why it'll fail.
Smart.
And so I'm able to really work through all the ways that it would fail to make a really solid plan of action to implement that idea. And I've also started doing that for other companies, people that come to me and say, hey, will you help us endorse this? Can you endorse this idea that we have? And I'll go, I think this is a great idea. Here's why it won't work. Here's how you could easily fix that to work. And then I'm finding myself consulting companies and then getting compensation for that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know where it came from, but it feels like the same muscle that I use when I am creative with song arrangements.
I do think the question to ask, is how can I monetize this? A lot of us don't do that. Even me with my coaching, I give away so much, and I starved for a while because I just wanted to provide value, provide value. And for me, payment, if someone said, Mark changed my life, Mark was wonderful, thank God for Mark, that was payment enough.
Yeah.
And it didn't occur to me at first that, wait a second, this is a profession and I have children who need to go to college and all those things. So the thought, how do I monetize this, isn't a detriment to the art or the biz or anything. And it's a way to change. I think the moment that I decided to have you on the podcast was you on Instagram, and you had contacted a company, a clothing company, and you said, I want to wrap your clothes. And they sent you a box of clothes. And I went, that kid's an entrepreneur. That kid's got the hustle and the brain. And he should come here and talk about this. So I really appreciate
Hmm.
you doing that.
Well, I love it, and I've enjoyed the conversation, and I am wearing some of those clothes right now.
I think it's called White Rabbit or
Yeah,
something.
literally the most comfortable clothing of all time. Go
So
ahead.
I have a question for you. So when you do your speaking from stage, not your singing, when you go and speak and
Yeah,
do your
yeah.
corporate gigs, what do you talk about?
I speak a lot at uh, I speak a lot at churches, and then sometimes I do speak with secular audiences and just motivational things. So I ran an ultra marathon, which my ultra was 50 miles through the woods in Texas, beginning of 2020, and I have dealt a lot with rejection, and I've dealt a lot with what perseverance feels like. And so I'll talk a lot about self-talk. I'll talk about this concept of having a cookie jar. So when you think of, you look back on things that you've accomplished, put that in the cookie jar. So when there are times that I felt too, when I feel defeated and like I don't have a great, I just feel defeated. I'll look back and kind of encouragingly talk trash to myself. I'll say, hey, do you know who you are? Do you know who you're talking to? When I'm talking to myself, when you say you don't know if you can do that, do you have any idea who the hell you're talking to? How dare you say, you're talking to the person who in severe pain after 20 miles ran 30 more miles after that to finish a race. You're talking to the insert accomplishment that you've put in your cookie jar. And I
Mm.
know just from hearing you talk about your own story very briefly in moments, you've got plenty of things that you could put in your cookie jar that you can talk yourself up to. And I talk a lot about how we have no idea, even people who really push themselves physically and mentally and emotionally, we still have no idea the unbelievable capabilities that we possess as human beings. And through history, we can see in war and in tragedy the unbelievable odds that we humans, the same exact DNA, the same, we're humans now, just like we were 40 years ago or 10 years ago, or just on the other side of the planet. And these people are doing these immaculate things that they didn't think they could do. We're the same people. And we have all of this potential to do so much. And when we think that getting fired is the worst thing that could happen to us, oh, it's nothing. We are resilient. We are built to be fired. We are built
Ah, so nice.
to to find a way when there is seemingly no way. We That is the theme of the human existence.
Just a note to my producers. That's the clip we start with. That was it. That was freaking brilliant. I appreciate that. I interviewed a guy named Brett Culp. He's a friend of mine. He's a filmmaker and he's also a speaker. And he speaks in churches a lot and also in corporate. So he straddles that same thing that you do. I
Mhm.
suggest that you give him a follow because he'll give you some ideas. You got some of the same vibe that he does.
Yeah.
Uh, and after I'll tell you how to spell it after we get off of here. But
Okay.
good guy to follow. He's my spirit animal. He's who I want to grow up to be someday.
Mm.
Just open-hearted, wonderful guy. So if people want more of you, where can they find you?
The best place is Instagram and Facebook. Twitter's some is I'm slacking there, but just at Clark Beckham is everything. It's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, and then clarkbeckham.com is where all my dates are kind of listed. And if you want to sign up into the email list that I have, that's the best way to make sure you don't miss a concert I'm playing at, or
Mhm.
a book I'm writing, or any of those things that I do. Those are the best ways.
Great. And also, I'm going to put a link into the show notes to your YouTube channel because there's lots of music videos there,
Yeah.
and your commentary is like, if you're an Idol fan, you can't watch Idol without watching Clark because you just don't get it. You don't know.
Oh,
You
I
don't.
love to hear that.
And
Yeah.
and and I want you to Google Clark Beckham, Georgia. His version of Georgia just dropped my jaw. It was amazing. It
Thank
was
you.
definitely a seminal moment. So Clark, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice to have a young man with that kind of wisdom. To everybody else, I appreciate you so much. I love your time and attention. I'm grateful. Have a great rest of the day.